guys, what's going on? This is Jeff with jailproduction.net. In today's Painfully Average tutorial, we're going to go over what is commonly called a motion loop background. Now, what is a motion loop background? Well, predominantly where it is being used for is for like either business clients or even churches. As you can tell by the cross, that's what I made it for. And what they do is in contemporary modernized churches, they'll go ahead and put up a nice motion loop background and have the lyrics on top of it to lead worship songs. So let's go ahead and see what we'll be creating today. Mesmerizing. Cool. So as you can see, we have particles coming from the bottom to the top, really nice glow down here, and it shows some depth in the background. The cool thing about this tutorial that you guys will find out is that these techniques can be used where like this logo can be changed in for anything, which is really cool. So instead of a cross, you can do your logo or a sign or anything in there. And then the way we're going to loop this is when you set it to loop, where's that loop? Come down here, it should be a nice looped up to the beginning, very seamless. Now there was a jump right there, but that's why QuickTime is not playing very well. So anywho, let's go ahead and show what we'll be creating. Before we start, I want to touch on two things. One is that we'll be using outside plugins to do this tutorial, and one of those is Trapcode Particular, and the other one is Optical Flares by Video Copilot. Obviously you don't have to use these two plugins, but I really enjoy both of them because they're very, very robust in the capabilities that they can do, especially for your arsenal in After Effects. But you can definitely don't have to use this for this tutorial. Okay, so with that all being said, let's go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to Composition, New Composition, and we're going to call this Motion Loop underscore out. I'm going to do it at 1080, 29.97 frames per second, and 10 seconds is just plenty enough for this purposes. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a grunge layer background. I wanted to do a kind of like subterranean or cave-like look of doing this type of motion background. So there we go. I'm going to go ahead and make it 3D by switching this on. And good deal. So go ahead and take that and press P or bring up the position, and we're going to drag this guy back. Now depending on your size of your grunge layer, you want it to show at least some depth in this layer, and you'll see why later on in the tutorial. So yeah, if you go too far like this, just go ahead and press S on your keyboard and just scale it up. The idea is at least to make sure that your position is at least definitely far back enough. All right. But again, like the example, I wanted to do a nice little greenish look. So let's go ahead and start color correcting this guy. So I'm going to right click when I have the effects controls up, go to color correction, and I want to first do levels. I just kind of want to bring the levels down a bit. Brighten that guy up. Okay, perfect. Good deal. The next thing I'm going to do, right click again, go to color correction, and do tint. Change the tint to about 15. And then right click again, color correction, curves. Put tint underneath curves. And here's where I'm going to take the master and just make that look a little bit brighter. Go to the green channel, boost the green up a touch, and then take the red channel and push it down a bit. Good. All right, it's a good start. All right, what's up next? So next up is I have a cross PNG file. Now, in order for this thing to work, you just have to make sure that whatever logo you have is a PNG transparent file. Okay, so let's go ahead and pre-compose this guy. We can either go Control-Shift-C on our keyboard, or we can just go up to here with your layer selected, go to Layer, Pre-Compose, and I'm going to call this cross underscore pre-comp. Enter. All right, so double click on that. And in this, I'm going to select it and also go back up to Layer and go to Auto Trace. And what this will do is it will create a mask around your PNG file, which is pretty cool. We're just going to leave all this alone, but make sure that you have Apply to New Layer checked, and then go ahead and click OK. Auto-save your project, and then should pop up here, a nice solid with that. So now that we have this, we're going to go ahead and I-select our cross, and then so yeah, that's why you always want to have a PNG file to do this one section. Okay, so I'm going to go back into this comp right here, and I'm going to select my grunge layer. I'm going to Control-C and then paste it in here. Okay, now reason why I did that is so we can go ahead and get this effect where it's going to feels like it's been chiseled inside of the grunge layer. All right, so how do we do that? Let's go ahead and just turn that off, and then select this guy, and then in our track mats we're going to take it and go to Luma Inverted. Okay, pretty cool. Now with this, we also want to do some nice little layer styles to show, because right now if I look at our comp, there's not much separation of what's going on right here. So how we can get that separation is by doing the layer styles. So we're going to select this guy, go under layer styles, and the first one I want to do is just inner shadow. Okay, now we can go in here and do a little bit more stuff if you want to, like play with the distance and stuff like that. I mean, that's up to you, but as you can see, you don't want to go too far out on that. So I just left it at the standard parameters. Actually, let's go to 7 just for fun. Okay, so there's that. And then the second one is, once again, layer styles, drop shadow. All right, now in order to sell this effect, we also want to change our position on our background. So I'm going to press P, and actually no, I'm going to do is click normal and click add for the blending mode, and I'm going to take this guy and just change it up a touch just to show that it is different. So there you go. I know you can't see it right now, but when we do color correction later on, it's really going to show a nice separation. But right there you can definitely tell it's definitely different. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So I kind of want to do is a nice little white spot next. So what I mean by that is I'm going to select this down here. I'm going to click Control Y to bring up a new solid. Okay, so this is just going to be called white spot. Let me spell it right. Okay, I'll go ahead and make it not pure white, but just enough. Okay, with this selected, up here where our rectangle tool is, I'm going to click it and go to ellipse and double click, and then I kind of want to make it a little bit smaller. So I'm holding Control and Shift on my keyboard to make it proportional and releasing it. And then once again, we'll go ahead and press F on our keyboard for the mask of the feather and drag it. That looks good. Now again, I'm going to change the blending mode from normal to overlay. I know it looks pretty bright, but we're doing good. Okay, so there's that right there. Next thing I want to do is I want to make a nice vignette all the way around. Okay, so that we can focus still on whatever is in the center here. So I'm going to right click in our composition, go to New, Adjustment Layer. I'm going to call this Vig for vignette. In our effects and presets, I'm going to type in fill, generate fill. There he is. Drag and drop. Change red to black. And just like we did for the white spot, I want to double click. This time with the mask selected, I'm going to go to subtract and then press F on the keyboard to bring up the feather and just drag it out to wherever I feel looks okay. I think that looks about good. What do you guys think? Good? Cool. Yeah, that looks all right. So we're getting there. I know right now it looks kind of blown out. In fact, let's go ahead and change the white spot. Take that, press T for the opacity, and go to 50. Just so it's not too bright. Okay. So now here's where we'll go into particular. Okay, so if you don't have this, just step back and you can see the coolness of what particular is. How about that? All right, here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and create another solid by clicking Control Y once again. I'm going to call this particular. Color does not matter. Click OK. And I'm going to go ahead and pre-compose this particular underscore pre-comp. And then we'll just go ahead and open new composition. Okay. Now in your effects and presets, it should be under effect. Whoops, got to select it first. Right click, trap code, particular. Okay. Now as you scroll the timeline over, you'll see that we got some particles. Okay, so this is a pretty simple effect. So the first thing I'm going to do under the emitter section, underneath emission extras, I'm going to change this pre-run to about 100. And what this does is it allows, instead of it from starting all the way up to like 2 frames to get particles, we already have a pre-run of 100 particles already established in our comp, which is cool. Okay, but we don't need 100. We're just going to do 50. Okay, and they're going to change the emitter type from point to box. All right. Now underneath, we're going to leave all the rotation velocity parameters alone. We just want to worry about this guy right here, size X. Now since my composition is 1920 by 1080, I'm going to change 50 to 1920 on the X axis, and then the Y, I just kind of did about half of the 960, or no, I actually ended up doing the exact 540 comp or position to get this. Okay, so as you can see, we got some particles chilling around. However, we want the particles to start from here and go up. Well, we do that first is by positioning our X and Y parameter down towards the bottom. So I'm going to take the Y and just increase it and just lower it to about right there, maybe a little higher. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so that is done for the emitter. Now let's go ahead and manipulate our particles. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is for the life, how long the particles I want to live, I want to change that to 5 seconds just to give a little bit more life to it. And instead of having a sphere, I want a glow sphere. Okay, on top of that, it creates the sphere feather. That's hard to say. Sphere feather. Do that all the way up to 100. Okay, and under the size, we're going to keep it at 5, but I want the size random to be a full 100%. And as you can see right there, the size random really distinguishes from all the different types of particles, which is nice. That's what I want. Now, under opacity over life, there's this really nice section here. You want to click that. If you can't see it, go ahead and drag it out a little bit more. I want to do this one right here. Now what this does is when the particle is born and when it dies, it has a nice little fade in and out. And right above it you see opacity random %. We're going to go ahead and change that up to 100. And as you can see in your composition, it's a nice transition. Like these particles just get born down here and then they die up here. So with that already set, we're going to go ahead and change the color now. Since now that we have the way the particles, how they look, we need to change the color. So as you see right underneath opacity over life, we have set color. Instead of at birth, we want random from gradient. And underneath the color random, whoops, I think I did that right. Yeah, random from gradient. Under the color over life, we want to change this to, you can change any type of color you want, but for me, I wanted to keep it consistent with the color scheme. So I'm going to go ahead and change this color by double clicking on this guy right here. And I have them written down. A nice little orangish. And this one's almost like a forest color. So 5, 6, 8, 5, 2. And then this last one's a much darker looking green. Okay, so these are the colors I used in the previous example, and that is pretty much it for particles. Okay, so that's what they look like. Now underneath the physics, we want them to kind of go up a little bit higher, because right now it looks like if you do a RAM preview, you know, they're just kind of chilling in their space, nowhere to go type of thing. Well, they're going up, so they are going somewhere. But we wanted a little bit more life to it. So we wanted to go into the physics under gravity, and we go -50. Now this one, as you can see, the gravity kind of takes off, kind of almost like they're boiling up or steaming up, and that's the look that I personally wanted. Now you can even go a step further underneath the actual air settings and under turbulent field. In this section right here, you can actually manipulate how the position or the size or even the scale is affected based on the particle interaction. So if I go under affect position, just increase that a touch, you can see that the position of each one has a little bit more different style than it was before. So you can do it. That's why I really like particular. There's so much things you can do inside of this plugin, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to go Control Z, and we are pretty much done with the particles. Okay, so if we go into our motion loop out, we have our particles in there. Pretty cool. So after looking at this white spot, white spot is just way too big. So I'm going to go ahead and just make that smaller. There we go. Much nicer. Good, 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 good. Okay. All right. So with this particle, we kind of now the particles are the reason why it's going to show that it's going to be looping. Okay, so I'll show you a quick, easy trick on how to make it loop. Because right now, if we go from here at this last frame and I press home on my keyboard, you can see end and home very, very different. So how do we do this? Well, first thing we want to do is we want to select our particle layer and Control D to duplicate. Okay, so we want to go in the middle of our comp. So with I have 10 seconds. So at the 5-second mark, I'm going to go ahead and take this top one. And I'm going to press, I'm going to hold down Alt and then the left bracket to cut it in half. And then I'm going to click the bottom one and hold down Alt right bracket. Now what that did was it just cut it in half. So if I use my page up and page down, you see this nice little bright spot. That means that they're overlapping. Okay. So I need to go ahead and zoom in. I'm going to use my arrow key, not my arrow key, my plus sign to zoom in. See that little lap? We just want to take, you can do either or, but you want to click and drag to make sure it's a nice seamless transition. Perfect, that's what we want. I'm going to take the minus sign and zoom out. Now here's where you flip them. You want to take this top one, go to the very top, hold shift to make it snap, take the bottom one all the way to the back. Okay, now as you can see from the home to end, you have the next frame over, and that's exactly what we want, and that's how you loop it. But we need to do this step right here where you got a little funky thing going on here. This is where we want to drag these two out just a touch. I shouldn't have done that too far, but just enough. And we want to keyframe the opacity between both layers. Okay, so I'm again using my plus sign. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to hold both these two layers and press the T on my keyboard, and then you just go ahead and keyframe by clicking this stop watch and then 0, and then you do the opposite on this one. I want it to be 0 on this one, keyframe, and then 100. Now you can adjust this so that the transition won't be too abrupt depending on how you're doing it, but that's how you do a loop if you're using a particle-based system. And as we go around, I wonder if it will, as a RAM preview. Yep, so that's how you do a loop. Pretty cool. So now that we have our loop with our particles, let's go ahead and make this a little bit better. So the next thing I want to do is I want to do a nice little glow on top of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and make another adjustment layer. Type in glow. Before I do that, I want to select my particular layer and change the blend mode to add. There we go. Now we can see them a little bit better. And also this vignette, it looks good, but I want to make sure that the particles really stand out. So I'm going to take this press F on my keyboard and continuing on with the feathering to darken it. Might go all the way up to like 900. Yeah, that looks better. There we go. That's really starting to stand out right there. And this glow is actually going to help these particles out even more. So with your glow adjustment layer selected, I want to right click on that. And actually, go to right click on it and go to stylize, glow. Whoa! So our threshold is pretty high. We want to go ahead and let's try 80 on that. Actually, let's keep going. We just want a nice subtle glow. There we go. Just where the particles can be seen a little bit better. So even if I take the effects off and on, just a nice little touch right there. Good. Good, good, good. All right, we're moving right along. So next up is our flare. We need to make a nice little optical flare here that will show some beam. So again, I want to create a new solid. Let's go flare. Okay. Click OK. And then under our effects, right click, Video Copilot, optical flares. Really cool plugin. Okay. So I'm going to take the center position, drag it all the way, whoops, not that. Center position, drag it all the way into the middle. And we can go ahead and just use this. The really cool thing about this preset, when you click options, it shows you all, well, I'll just show you, why not? So as you can see, we have a plethora of options, custom presets, pro presets too, like really, really robust, really cool thing. Definitely check it out, videocopilot.net. Okay, so this one, I'm just going to make it tint it where it's more of a yellowish. As you can see, it has a nice live preview. Let's say about right, that looks good right here. And instead over black, I want to do on transparent. And then I want to take its blending mode and I want to change it to lighten. If I can find it, where did I find it? Nope, lighter color, there it is. Okay. Yep, good. Okay, so that's, whoop, thank you, Mr. Autosave. And I want to put this underneath the particular layer. And as you can see, it's starting to look pretty sharp. Actually, I might go ahead and lower the center position or the XY position even more. Cool. All right, cool. We're moving right along. All right, next up, I want to do is a nice little blend down on here to show a little bit more brightness. So I'm going to create another solid, and I actually have it written down on what I want for that. This type of a color. Call this mask bottom. And I'm going to take my rectangle tool and just take the bottom of it. And I want to change the blending mode to add. And then take the F to feather it instead of a harsh. So as you can see, what this does is it kind of gives the illusion that there's something down here that is bubbly or giving off some really cool particles. And I mean, we can even go in further and adjust the opacity. Let's try 75, not to make it too bright, but just enough where we can see, whoa, what's down here? So I can take it off and then back on. As you can see the difference. So that's really sharp. Okay, so there's that. Let's do some little bit more color correction as a final composite. So I'm going to do another adjustment layer and call this CC for color correction. Go into my effects controls, right click, color correction, do tint. Change it to 15, right click, color correction, curves. We'll do a master curve here. And bump it up a little bit, there we go. That looks cool. And then last but not least, let's do color correction, hue and saturation, and bump up the saturation. Nice. Okay, cool. Let's see what that looks like full screen. Yeah, far out. All right, so last thing I did was I put up a blur section to even further enhance the viewer to be in the center. You can do this if you want to or not, but it's just a personal touch. Call this blur. Just another adjustment layer, and then you want to go here in your effects and presets. Just type in blur. Let's do blur and sharpen will come up. Let's do fast blur. Drag and drop. Go ahead and check mark repeat edge pixels, and let's go ahead and boost this sucker up. Let's do about 20, see what that looks like. Cool. And just like we did with our vignette effect, we want to go up here to ellipse tool, double click, and we want to subtract it. And just like vignette, we want to go ahead and feather that out. I think the vignette we did about like 900, so let's do 900 as well. Nice. So as you can see, that's pretty much it. Now obviously it's not the exact same. I think I did a little bit more in depth of, I guess a little bit more darker look to really pop this out, which you can do. But as you can see, like the main reason why I wanted to show you guys this is that you can create all this stuff inside of After Effects, which is pretty cool. So yeah, definitely pretty neat. And also, if I go back into this original comp, I can show you real quick. I took the gel logo, or just gel in general, and then put it back on there for you to check out. So as you can see, you can do any type of logo. You just got to make sure, again, that it's transparent and that you can use that auto trace option. And then this is just the inside shadow and a drop shadow to really distinguish. It almost looks like it's cut inside of the stone, which is pretty cool. All right, well guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and learned something new. And yeah, just go ahead and check out the website, jelproduction.net. Follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. So you guys have a good day. We'll see you soon.